We were working with the New South Wales Government department. They had something like 700 assets, and they were just saying, all right, these 20 assets, let's just go and inspect them. They're all over the state, and they'd send a contractor out there, and let's say 10 of the 20 would be completely fine, and then the other 10 have some serious issues. So diagnosing the issue and then getting the equipment to go back and fix the issue, they're spending a lot of money trying to maintain these things, and we're like, there has to be a better way. So that's where we started building this Diagno product.
Today at the YEA podcast, we got Chris Martell from GSES. And you might say, GSES, what do they do? How do they fit in the solar and the battery market? Well, you're going to find out. Hi, Chris. Welcome to the YEA podcast. You've been in solar and batteries for quite a while. How long ago did you start in this industry?
Yeah, a little while ago. Started in 2009. So I went to University of New South Wales. That's why I came to Australia. From America. And then from there, I worked at a small company called Quantum for about a year, and then moved to SolGen, which is now part of AGL. And I was with SolGen for about 4 years.
So you're a bit of an engineer or an installer or a sales guy?
Yeah. My training is in engineering. My background's in mechanical. And then when I went to University of New South Wales, I did a master's in PV. So that was a great experience. Yeah.
So you were in 2009. So this is still the time when Suntech had a research lab in botany and all of those. So you go back really to the very early days.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Suntech was the largest manufacturer of panels in the world at that time. So yeah.
And started at that same university.
That's right. Yeah. Professor Shi. So yeah. It's that's one of the, besides wanting to come to Australia, that was the whole calling to go to UNSW. Is like no university in the world did it better than UNSW. So
Interesting. Now, so you're now the head of GSES.
Yep. Yeah.
What do they do?
Yeah, I've been at GSES for 11 years. Yeah. What does GSES do? It's a very interesting company. We do a lot of things. So we've been in the industry since 1998. We're 20. What does that make us? 27 years old now. The founder is Jeff Stapleton, who was just awarded the Order of Australia for his contribution to the industry, which is significant. And I won't go through it all, but people can look it up. He's done a lot for the industry. So people know us best as a training organization because we've been doing training that whole time, effectively, training and capacity building in the industry. And I guess what makes us a bit unique is we write all of our own content. We maintain all of our own content, and we have kind of a unique technical capability. We host our own learning management system. We have our own server, and we provide that service not just for ourselves, but for a number of other institutions.
So is this all for solar retailers, solar installers, battery installers? That's the training that it's for, is it?
That's exactly right. So we licensed that course to, I think, 9 other groups, but we provide that training pathway to SAA accreditation for solar batteries, standalone power systems, and eventually there exist units of competence for operations and maintenance, for microgrids, for inspections. We have an inspections course coming out this month. Which I think will be very relevant given the huge number of systems that are going to be installed under the new federal government program. So
Right. And I mean, if you've done the panels and stuff for 20, 30, 40 years and they haven't gone LiDAR, there's a point, I'm thinking of a friend David Wiltshire. I think he's in his mid-50s now. I think you probably know him. I think he'd be possibly looking for a few things, and he has taken up inspections a lot now. Yep. So I think there is a career path from an installer down the track to also move into the inspections field because it is tough on the body.
It is, yeah. Dave's been doing inspections for us for 10 years. I actually did a training course with David in Tonga. That was hilarious. But yeah, I love Dave Wilshire.
He's one of a kind. If anybody ever worked with David, the install takes usually twice as long because there's a lot of stories that he tells you.
Yes, but he's great. David's great.
Very specific. Yes.
So that's sort of the training piece. And because of our experience, we leverage that experience into a lot of overseas work. We've worked throughout the Pacific, Southeast Asia, Africa. We actually have another office in India, in Delhi. And we're also involved in a few different training initiatives, one of which is called New Energy Academy, which is a joint venture between a group in California called New Energy Nexus, Open Solar, and ourselves. And that's a really cool project. I won't dive too much into that, but New Energy Academy is a good thing to check out. Another part of our business is the consulting piece, which has really been developing over the last sort of 15 years. And we help mostly state and local government with procurement of renewable assets. And that's probably the piece of our business that's most relevant to the piece that I want to talk about, which is Diagno. So I'll leave that there for a minute. We also have another piece of the company called Mindaro, which is its own business. It's been broken off now. And Mindaro provides designs for construction for solar plants, solar batteries, electric vehicle chargers. But their bread and butter is sort of that small utility scale. I should say small. They're doing a lot of 5 megawatts, but they've also done 200 megawatt plant as well. So they're developed quite a capability. They've got a really great team there. A lot of expertise sitting in that team. So, and they're working for large developers and large EPCs. So they're doing a great job, and they're running very well. So they kind of look after themselves at this stage. But yeah,
I think people have got you in sometimes also when there was a bit of a conflict between, let's say, the EPC and the people who are running it, and they felt maybe they're not getting the output out of the solar and things like that. You kind of, have you had played that arbitrary role occasionally and inspecting things and giving feedback?
Yeah, well, talking about all the pieces of GSES, but the consulting piece is most relevant to that question. We've been a clean energy regulator inspector for over 10 years. We've done something like 20,000 inspections across the country. We also offer those services to other groups. So we just did a huge rollout for the Queensland Battery Booster Program. We did 2,700 inspections for them. So yeah, assessing the compliance and the quality of an install and the performance and the safety of the install is something we've been doing for a long time. And a lot of the customers that we've worked for out of the consulting group are also asking us to provide them with operations and maintenance administration services, because it's a kind of a nascent part of the industry. Because
what does nascent mean? Sorry, important, valuable,
new.
Right.
Yeah, we've been so focused on installing, and most of the EPCs consider O&M for one reason or another to be a bit of a headache. It's really hard to make money providing O&M services and convincing the customer to pay more for a package.
So you're talking basically the maintenance of the system after it's been installed.
Yeah.
Because most customers think, well, there's a solar panel, there's a cable, I've got my electricity in the wall, it's been running there for 30 years, never touched it. Why the hell bother with solar?
Yeah, well, that's it. And part
is that wrong?
No, that's right. but part of the sale from an EPC is this is a maintenance-free product, which is not true. Not true. Not at all.
Are you really sure?
Yeah.
Oh, it hasn't got a moving part.
It has no moving parts, but it's out there in the weather all day, every day. And, you know, the industry's been developing, making new standards and making sure that the quality comes up, but that took time.
Right.
You know, there was a lot of installs that went out there that are not great.
In the early days or still now?
Early days, but probably still now. Yeah, so...
you see, there's a lot of cheap solar out there too.
There is, yeah.
So, well, we might visit that in a second. But so GSES, you're kind of giving independent reports. I got the whole overview, but you're quite excited now because you've got a little bit of money out of Race 2030 for a particular product that you've developed that you're kind of effervescently excited about. So, yeah, give us the news.
Race 2030 is a group that has federal funding, and their mission is to fund initiatives that will lead to effectively net zero in 2030. So I've vastly simplified that, but there's a number of different initiatives, and we fall under the networks initiatives. And our goal is to reduce the LCOE, the levelized cost of energy produced by solar batteries.
For lay people, because you're an engineer, sorry to say this, but basically make solar cheaper, even so it's already very cheap. But if there is, for example, in the maintenance area, a way to make things a bit more simpler, then you add lower cost to the overall basis. So if there are methods or programs or automation or AI or whatever is available that can down the track make solar last longer and perform better, then they're all for it.
That's what this project's all about. So if someone's selling you solar, they're selling you based on a business case. And that business case will say, we're going to produce this amount of energy and your maintenance cost will be whatever, some small number. But that's not what's going on in the field. So the system might be underperforming or not performing at all for periods of time. And that's not in the business case. They're not saying in the next 15 years, we're expecting this amount of shutdown and this amount of underperformance. That's not what you're being promised.
It always works basically on paper. It works for the whole 15 years.
Right. And the amount of maintenance that's being forecast is also quite low. But what's happening in the field is you're getting these periods of shutdown, periods of maintenance. The maintenance that we are spending is more than we're predicting on a business case. And when you bring that total cost of the lifetime cost of the system, it's much worse than what's on the business case.
But I mean, with many solar things, given that the electricity is that high, and I'm talking more like the car wash, maybe the 40, 50, 80 kilowatt solar systems.
Yeah.
I've done the numbers and you can get your money back in as little as 3 to 4 years. So if they add an extra half a year on it now that they didn't know about in terms of the maintenance and all that, it doesn't make solar really economically unviable. So we're not making a case here for solar isn't worth it. We're just making a case for solar could be even giving you more if you do a bit of maintenance. Is that the argument?
That's exactly right. So yeah, we've done business cases for government clients where the IRR is like 37%. It's ridiculous. Like solar is still a no-brainer. But the problem is if you are, let's say you're getting half out of your solar system that you were initially promised, that's not a great outcome either. All we're saying is that there is, these assets are distributed, they're bespoke, they're built using multiple different technologies by multiple different installers. There has to be a clever way of managing them. So that's really the...
So you said to me that in the past, well, we had a quick chat, that there was an initial program where you were asked to check schools and things like that, how they were performing, and you did some learning through that inspection process.
Yeah, that's right. So there's sort of two things that brought us to where we are today, the kind of the things that kicked us off on our journey. And it's effectively that operations and maintenance or maintenance services were being done in a suboptimal way. And that the reality...
You're so polite. It was... The bastard didn't do the job properly when they were supposed to maintain. So instead of actually looking under the panels, taking a couple off and find the pigeon nest, they just went across, put a light there, couldn't see much, going, she'll be right.
That's it, yeah. Well, and then you brought up another point there, right? Like the incentives aren't always aligned with what the asset owner's incentives should, or what they are trying to get out of the project. Sometimes the EPC won't want to reveal a problem, or might want to sell a service that the asset owner doesn't need. So there's all these problems that were happening in the industry.
Again, let me point out for general people, if you built the solar system, let's say for a government department, and then the government department says, oh, could you afterwards come through and just every 2 years come past and look at something, you now got a direct conflict of interest because the output of the system that you guaranteed is now monitored by you. If there's a problem, you're going to quietly try to make it go away. You're not going to go to the owner and go, oh, by the way, what we promised you, we stuffed it up and it's not happening. And by the way, there were an MC4 cable and a plug melted for the last 6 months and you didn't get the full power out of your one string. You're not going to say that. So there's a direct conflict. So my belief is that the people who built the solar farms and the rooftop systems, the larger commercial ones, should not be the ones to possibly monitor them. But for convenience, a lot of procurement guys go, yeah, he'll be right. I know him now. If we had a beer, I love him. Let him do the job.
Yep. No, that's right. And the EPC that built the site, they might have a performance guarantee in place. But the performance guarantee might say, well, there's a number of different things that we can exclude if it goes wrong. And the asset owner really doesn't have the ability to know if what they're excluding is right or wrong. So there's a lot of trust being placed in the EPC or the O&M provider. And I guess if you really were to boil it down, what Diagno is meant to be is to provide the asset owner or asset manager with a superpower. So I don't know if you want to dive into
So can I just get that right? So basically, I'm an EPC, and we love EPCs. I
Love
mean, they're making the
EPCs.
solars.
Yeah.
Without them, we wouldn't have solar farms, and we wouldn't
it's
have
hard work.
rooftop solar. It's hard works, and so love EPCs. But after the work is done, you really want somebody else to make sure it's working right. And if there is something identified, you want to identify it early.
Yeah, I think EPCs can still provide the service, but you want a mechanism for accountability.
So you've created something that kind of is like the policeman in the room that kind of waves, or maybe make it a referee, rather like a referee. Okay, so what's the story then about this diagnostic tool? Because to summarize it up, you've been in the solar inspection field a long time.
Mm-hmm.
The story about solar is maintenance free, just leave it there, has proven to be false over the last 15 years that you've been in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So what type of issues come up? Can you give me a couple of them?
Yeah, there's a lot that are sort of normal issues that we find all the time, but there's also a lot of outlier issues. So it's been really fun for us to discover all these issues. Fun because we're engineers, but not fun for the asset owners or asset managers. But actually, I got some statistics if you don't.
I like statistic, but just on the top of your head, we'll get to the statistic. What is it? Is it? I mean, just to admit something here, I've got 2 solar systems on properties.
Mm-hmm.
Then I got relatives who have their solar systems. And recently I thought, I just want to see if we're ready for that battery rebate. So I had people come in and inspect my system. I actually never done that. It's an extra expenditure. I didn't really want to worry. But I thought, before I put the battery on, I really want to make sure the engine is running well.
Of course.
On all 3 systems that I thought I'm monitoring and they're doing well, I had issues.
Yep.
MC4 plug melted, one string was down on a 35 kilowatt system. So I lost a lot of electricity for quite a while, and my monitoring didn't pick it up because it was right from the beginning of the system installed pretty well. So the monitoring had never seen the higher production and just thought, well, that's what this system produces. So it never rang the bell.
Yep.
I had pitch under the panels that I wasn't aware of. One of the inverter wasn't working with my sister-in-law, who decides not to bother to monitor. And I had isolators that were undersized for what they should have been with a bit of water in it. And I thought everything was hanky-dory. But other problems that you picked up?
Yep, all those. But when we onboard sites, so we have something like 5,000 devices in Diagno now, about 200 megawatts worth of solar. And every time we onboard, we find issues, like lots of issues.
So before a solar system is going into Diagno, you actually go out and inspect and make sure it actually works hanky-dory?
Ideally, but most sites no. Most sites are just, we're onboarding the data set into Diagno and we run it through the machine learning diagnostics engine. And then it gives us the fault, the issue that it's identified. But yeah, I'd say I've got the statistics, but I'll just give you the rough numbers. About 50%, so 51% of sites we onboard have some issue. And that might be clipping, shading, there might be minor issues in there. But 15% of sites we onboard have serious issues. And that's zero generation. The system's off. And some sites that we onboard, the system's been off for years. It's mind-blowing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there are people with large solar systems on their roof, and whoever is in charge of maintenance assumed it's all working, and they're still getting a high electricity bill, and they haven't picked up that their solar wasn't working, did they?
Off. It's crazy. Other serious issues are earth faults. Every system has to be installed as per the 5033 standard with an earth fault alarm, and that can be sent to the owner via email or text message or whatever, but no one's looking at it. And oftentimes your inverter will send you earth fault messages, but if it's an intermittent earth fault, you just get spammed with earth faults. How do you know if it's something real? So Diagno's machine learning diagnostics engine will pick up and parse real versus not real earth faults, and be able to tell you if it's a serious issue. And we have found, and if you find an earth fault that's a serious issue, you got to send someone up there and find it. And it might be something as simple as a cable that's been rubbing on a stainless steel zip tie or a cable tray. And if you find it now, that's great because you can fix that. But if you don't send someone out there, that's just going to keep going until it breaks through the insulation. The conductor will now be live to earth, permanent earth fault. So your system shut down, or worst case scenario, you get an arc fault and you get a fire. This is what we don't want. We don't want to have fires on roofs. It's bad for the industry. It's bad for the customer. It's bad for the system the person that built the system. We don't want these things.
So basically you're saying because solar is now not a new asset anymore, there are systems and larger commercial ones that have been on roofs now for 10, 15 years.
That's exactly right.
Therefore, really, you do need to have a maintenance regime. It's like a road. I mean, a road looks nice when you build it new and the asphalt is all hot and warm and steaming and dries down. But go on the M4 right now, after 10 years of last time it was resheeted, there's so many potholes now. I'm driving along going, oh. So same thing with solar. There are issues that can come through. And what about panels? Do you get water ingress issues sometimes?
Yep, absolutely. And you get earth faults that way. There's a current leakage through the panel itself, creates an earth fault. That's all possible. Hot spots in panels. We pick all that stuff up. But your was it M4, M2 analogy?
I've got an M. It was an MC4 was my cable that melted, and the M4 is where I'm driving on. I find all the potholes.
But the M4 analogy is a great analogy, right? Because the issues will be identified by whoever manages the M4, just inherently, I suppose. But it's much better when you're collecting huge amounts of information, and that's why you get the cameras everywhere. There's apps like Waze, Waze, the Waze app, and the users will report potholes and all sorts of different issues. And Waze can sell that information back to the road authority, and now they're empowered with a huge amount of information that they can go and optimize how they fix things. So I actually think that's a great analogy for sort of what we're doing.
True, but I mean, since the German autobahns were built in the 30s, there's a lot of data on roads of how many cars for what weather condition and how long it'll last before the potholes come. That data is not really available for solar. It's only kind of coming through now. Do you know what I'm saying? People like yourself and others who spent the time analyzing and getting the data are slowly now setting these data sets up. But it's nothing that you could dial into, like an engineer can dial into, because there's 50 years of data there. You kind of actually got to develop all that yourself.
That's exactly right. So we're building up the data set now, and there's a few different data sets as well. It's not so we pull data from the inverter, the battery inverter, so solar batteries, also third-party power meters. So we're pulling data via different devices. But we also typically get the installation and commissioning tests, the as-builts. So we're loading all that up there. If there's O&M or rectification actions taken, we almost always get what was actually done on site in the costs. So we're building up these data sets, and we're able to extract a lot of really important information based on the data sets that we have, and they're growing all the time. So the longer we have assets in Diagno, the more information we learn, and the more assets we have, the more information we learn. So we built these machine learning models, which are learning all the time. And
can I just explain to somebody, again, who might be a procurement officer and go, well, what's all these data sets? We know the irradiation on the square meter, literally for every postcode in Australia based on weather data in the past. We take that information and then we take what the solar system size is and the angle and where it sits. And out of that, we can actually get fairly accurate numbers of output that the solar system should generate over a period. Obviously, we can't take day by day because the weather changes all the time, but there's a consistency factor so you know what overall within a parameter that solar system should generate. Correct so far?
Yep.
So then your diagnostic tool then works out that we're not reaching that, and the way we're not reaching it and the way the data comes through, you can tell if this is an overshadowing problem or if this is a string down because it's that significant for that significant period. So you can kind of already get a bit of an idea with your program of what the issue could be?
Yeah, that's right. And the whole idea is that information is, we have a dashboard, right? But that information is not, it's displayed on the dashboard, but it's delivered in a nice package to the asset owner or asset manager in natural language. So you can go to your dashboard and you can drill down if you want. You can try to discover it, but you don't have to. You know, the information that we have from our customers is these dashboards get looked at for a few weeks or months or when reporting periods come up, but they largely get forgotten because people are busy and they're doing all sorts of other things. So Diagno was built with the intention of, if you've got an issue, we're going to tell you about it, and it's going to come to you in a message that you can understand. We're technical about what should be done, but the diagnostic is a natural language diagnostic. So
okay, well that's nice, but I mean, if I'm a bit of a penny pincher, and I go, okay, I'm getting my inverter readings, and I'm thinking it's okay. I had similar last year. She'll be right. That's good enough, type of thing. I mean, what's the difference between what you're doing to what the persons maybe already have set up through the EPC as their monitoring platform?
Yep. There's lots of ways to do it, and if you're comfortable.
No. Don't you go back. You got to tell me that your program is better or telling me it's simpler, or, I mean, I know you're an engineer and you're not a sales guy, but if you've been bothering to make all these happen and you found 50% of issues and your program can diagnose it, and that means 50% of the owners of systems did not look at their monitoring data. So my question is, what's the difference between the monitoring data that I maybe get myself, where I actually half the time don't really understand what the hell I'm looking at, versus, and especially if people change. You might have an asset, you might be having a big solar system on the roof of your company. The guy who looks after the cleaners and the stairways not slipping and all that, he's also in charge of that. He changed, and he knew all about solar. He loved it. He can read it. But then he changes. Now you get the new guy. He has no idea. The solar system underperforms. You lose thousands of dollars, but you don't even realize.
Yep, that's exactly right.
So where does your product fall into that?
So you might have this really switched on person that's, they're looking at their monitoring portal every day. They're looking at their dashboard and they know exactly what they're doing. But that's not what we're finding in the market. Okay, so one of the stories that I like to tell with Diagno is that we work with a lot of councils, and one of the councils that we were working with said, we've got about 50 assets, solar systems, and they're on 3 or 4 inverter platforms, and we've got a few people that are looking at these platforms every week, and we're all good. We don't need you. So they had 3 or 4 people looking at 3 or 4 different platforms. I don't know how many hours a week that was taking up, but let's call it at least 1 FTE. And we said, look, let's just do a free trial and have a look and see. And that was one of the worst performing portfolios that we onboarded. Half their systems were off. I know, like it's.
I used to work for a council, so I'm not. My longest time I've ever stayed with somebody is 13 years at local government.
Yeah.
Okay. I was always told to work a bit less because I make other people look bad. I'm sorry. And my wife has been deputy mayor and all that. We love local government, and they got a lot of lovely people there. But solar expert, they ain't.
Yeah, and they care about it, but I think they've got a lot of other things going on. Does the solar asset sit in the sustainability team or the assets team? There's a lot of problems on their end that they have to solve, and looking at string voltages is probably not really on their list. So that's what Diagno does. It says we've got this for you, and if you've got an issue, we'll tell you about it, and then we'll give you the pathway to take action. So that's what it's all about. Is it's an action-oriented tool.
So how do I then install that on the solar system? You got a couple of engineers for 3 weeks embedded in the council and put a little monitor on every panel, or how does it work? Yeah,
so it's all software. So we pull all the information via API. So if you've got, pick a device. If you've got SMA, Fronius, SolarEdge, Fimmer, SunGrow, you've got SunGrow batteries here. So it doesn't really matter what you've got. We'll pull it via API. And you don't have to do anything. Just give us an API key or set us up as a user, and you're done.
Would you, if the numbers that come out of the inverter tell you there's some issue, do you then have a team that can go out and inspect, or you simply put your hand up and then recommend that they get somebody out, or what's the story?
Yep. So it takes a little bit to resolve various types of issues because we're really set on making sure that we're filtering appropriately so you don't get spammed. So if you get an issue from us, it's real. We make sure of that. And then if you've got someone, let's say you're a council and you've got maintenance crew or you've got a panel, you can utilize them. That's fine. You've got the diagnostic. You can do what you want. But we also have a tool, and this is the part of the Diagno that we're still building. But we've got a tool that we are currently calling Get Fixed. So you can click the tool and you'll get 3 quotes. So we're building up our network now. At this point in time, we just kick it to GSES because they are able to work with, or I'm saying they because I've got my Diagno hat on at the moment. But GSES is able to work with their network of contractors, and they can send someone out to help fix. And we've done that for a number of different groups, and we're getting amazing results actually because we have the information to make the appropriate fix. So there's no discovery on site. They know exactly what to do, what tools to take, and they make the fix. We're getting really great results. So
right. So you're looking really because, for example, a lot of councils, they have multiple solar systems on their swimming pool, on their library, on their building. And I mean, there was a time when the government gave money away for those type of projects and the council put their hand up very quickly. But then also politically, some council wanted to look leadership, environment. Nobody ever gets criticized for put a solar system up. Let's say I'm a procurement officer from a inner city council with about 50 assets. You want to sell me your program. Have a go.
Well, let's do a free trial. I mean, like seriously, it's been hard to convince people that they need this until we do a free trial. And then once we do a free trial, which is unfortunate, I'd like to just onboard people straight away and get them to pay, but because we're building the company. But once we do a free trial, it's immediately apparent that this is required. And
so hang on, you are offering me something for free.
Yeah.
You're not coming and say, look, I've got this Diagno, it can help you here and here. That's what the monthly cost is, etc. You're simply walking in and telling me, my past experiences with local government solar systems, there's more issues that people are aware of.
Yes.
Let me go and have a look, and I'm not charging you for it.
Yeah, because the issue is a silent issue. Unless you show it, this is my experience, unless we show it to them, they don't believe us. And then once we show it to them, it's like, holy, this is bad. And then, I don't want this report to go anywhere. The mayor's never going to see this piece of paper. Yeah, no, I know. And that's a risk, right? But we're hoping that people will do the right thing. And councils in particular spent millions of dollars building these out, and it's constituency money. Taxpayer money, and you want to make sure that they're performing the right way, or at least safe. If one of the things, and I'd like to talk about the Race 2030 project a little bit, but we've got 6 tasks in the Race 2030 project, and one of the tasks is to improve our fire detection systems. So at the moment, I don't want to promise that we can predict if a fire will happen because that's hard to do, but we have algorithms in Diagno that can forecast the potential for a fire to happen, and we're going to be improving those with this Race 2030 project.
But I mean, to be really seriously, I mean, I know it's made the news a few times here and there, but for the number of solar systems physically out there, which is 4 million or so, the number of fires we do get is very low. So I don't want to be alarmist now about solar and fire.
Yeah.
The only problem you do have is I saw a fried rodent recently. He decided to chew on an MC4 on all of those things. But in general, that is possibly a lower risk. Even so with councils, obviously safety is always very important.
Yep.
But it's possibly more the financial benefits that they're missing out on. I mean, we've created this whole thing. We want the renewable energy. And now with batteries coming, even in the middle of the day when we have a lot of it, it can still be absorbed. So it makes sense for these damn things to work.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the main upshot of Diagno, drive the performance of the system and to manage them in a really sophisticated way. But and you're right. The number of fires we have is statistically small, but you don't want to also be the Sydney Olympic Park Aquatic Center with the roof on fire making Channel 9 news. This is a bad outcome. And if you can predict these things, and we're finding that not always, but they are predictable, then you can stop them before that happens. This sometimes, and the Race 2030 talks about this a little bit. We've got data that indicates sort of in the days to weeks, but also sort of weeks to months time period that there's anomalies in the system that you can pick up before a fire happens. Now, if you prevent a fire, you can't really claim that a fire was going to happen because you've prevented it. But we're quite certain that we've done that already for a number of different systems.
Okay. Now, we have kind of lost that track a bit. I still want to be that council officer who's not interested in giving you a break. So I've got 50 solar systems. I'm checking them every couple of days. Looks fine to me. Why would I need you?
Yeah.
And how much do you charge me?
Yeah. So we've got sort of one-off pricing on our website. So $80 onboarding fee. That's it. And if you want to stay on the basic version of Diagno, it's a one-off, $80. It's pretty good. Cheapest chips per device.
But I mean, do I now have to go to every one of my system and install that damn thing, and it'll take me 4 weeks to do so?
No, it takes about a minute per site, a couple minutes a site to onboard. We do most of the work for you, and we're creating some self-onboarding systems at the moment, so it should be even easier. And then the Pro version is $180 per device.
What's the difference between the Pro and the... Am I a Pro guy or an $80 guy?
So everyone should be on Pro, obviously, because the Pro gives you access to the AI, the machine learning diagnostics, the natural language diagnostic.
Is that $180 per site?
Per device.
Right.
So if you have 3 inverters, 3 times 180.
And that's $180 a week, a month, a year?
A year. So even the Pro version is a pittance compared to what you're losing by not having it. And that's not just me saying it because I want people to take Diagno. That's our statistical evidence.
Hang on. So if you want me to spend $9,000 because I got 50 assets and it's $180 per unit, then I got to make at least $9,000 more electricity out of it to be on top of it.
Yep.
And there's not really no guarantee for that.
Yeah, I guess so. Then we're not going to. But
are you going to run this program for me for a year to prove to me that I'm going to save money?
Yeah, well, we do the free trial over sort of 3 months is what we have been doing. But if you are a council with 50 assets, well, let's say you get one asset, it's 100 kilowatt. You expect sort of to return about 20K a year on just that 100 kilowatt. So if you have 50 assets, you're significantly more in terms of revenue expected or savings from your portfolio, from all of your systems. To make up the cost of Diagno.
Let's make that quickly.
Yeah.
That's $1 million.
Yeah.
In electricity costs that I'm avoiding because I got all these solar systems.
Yep.
And you're saying it's quite easy to lose maybe 5 to 10% on.
Oh, yes.
What's your number from your tests?
How much they're losing?
Yeah.
So the statistics I have in here, which I may have already said, was the number of systems at onboarding time that have an issue is 51%. And then 15% of them have a serious issue. And serious issue would be zero generation, earth fault, string fault, these types of things. And these issues, when we onboard, oftentimes have existed for months or years. So the number of the financial loss is typically quite large as compared to. I'll just give you an example. We were working with a supermarket provider that had 5 sites in WA, and we picked up at the time of onboarding. We picked up one issue that paid for all 5 sites Diagno for 20 years. That's it. That's it. One issue, and the rest is the cream on top. Anything else we find over the next whatever it was, 20 years, that's just gravy for you. And this is standard stuff.
But seriously, mate, I'm going to give my honest opinion here from my council perspective. I got 50 systems there. Maybe half of them, as you just predicted, are not working properly. All right. But if you now point out that there's all these problems, you give me all this work to get it fixed. And my life is so much easier when nobody knows. So
Yep.
why the hell? I mean, yes, the community may be missing out, but I'm creating more work for myself. I'm not really interested in that.
Yep, that's possible. And if that's the case, I don't know what to do. Like, I'd love to, be a
I mean, I'm
psychologist.
sure there are attitudes like that.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure there are.
I'm sorry, Chris. I'm really, I see on his facial expression, he's going, I don't know how to sell that guy a bloody thing. I think I got him here. Yeah, but I mean, that could be the attitude with some people, couldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. What we found is generally people do care and they want to get the best. And the industry is also evolving. Like, we've gone from a period where we were trying to install as much as possible. Then now we are actually seeing councils release O&M contracts and trying to drive the most out of their systems. But we still think that they're going about it the wrong way. We've seen O&M contracts go out that ask for sometimes 4 inspections a year. Like, this is nuts. You're spending tons of money.
That's too much, is it?
Well, it depends on what you're trying to achieve or in where you are, but I think so. I think if you've got the data that tells you how you're doing, you should use it. Instead of going and visiting the site. Now, there's a place for that. You've got to get on site. There are things that you can pick up on site that you can't with software. Torque testing, software isn't going to be able to tell you if you've got the right torque on each clamp.
Meaning if the panels are, screwed on the right frame, not going to fly off in a big wind because the screw slowly loosened itself up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
But do you have to do torque testing 4 times a year? Like, I don't think
No, I
so.
think it's probably after 1 or 2 times or every 5 years or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's your idea as an expert for the maintenance of solar systems?
I think it should be all data driven. I think it should be almost entirely condition based. So if you're able to put together a software system like what we're trying to do that tells you when you should be doing certain things in a way that's optimal for your specific system, we've got a huge amount of systems in Diagno, and building a generalized model that can use that model for your specific system and drive the most out of your system based on the information that we get from it. That's the best case scenario. And we can say, well, you only need to do a truck roll when it's appropriate for you. It should be a sophisticated way of dealing with a distributed smart energy asset, as opposed to the old model, which is, let's just send someone out. And that's fine for certain types of assets, but I think we have to be smarter with solar and batteries. Yeah.
But would you say, I mean, still, even on the talk, on cockatoos chewing on cables and all that maybe every 2 or 3 years you should do a physical one as well, just as a matter of course, or you think it should just be data-driven?
No. I think at some interval it's appropriate to get out to site.
But what's your time frame from your experience? What do you think is a good number?
I think it's actually different for every site. I think having a blanket number is not appropriate. There might be some remote sites that you'd have to visit. Like let's say your system's near a train station. Now all the train dust is getting kicked up or maybe you get there's birds nesting up there. You need to visit the site more often.
Or right next to the coast with a lot of salt and.
Yep, there's all these different circumstances. But there'll also be other systems that you don't need to visit. Maybe every 3 years. So it really should be specific to what you've got on your roof or in your field, as the case might be.
But I mean, I don't get too many experts that have that. But in the past, when I was kind of generally in the industry, we said between 1 and 3 years really depended on the site and the site specifics. Is that kind of in line with what you're thinking? I mean,
Yeah.
It should be data driven, and the data should drive you of saying, "Whoops, something's happening. We better go out." I get that, but in general, inspection of a more commercial system, 1 year to 3 years, depending on the site, am I kind of sitting there? Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah, no, I think that's right. I think at least every 3 years is probably appropriate. I mean, the other part of this too is we're collecting the data now to inform this answer, but we don't yet have the answer. So ideally, it's a data-driven answer, but at the moment, we just have to use sort of rules of thumb, which might be somewhere between 1 and 3 years.
Right. But in a couple of years' time, when you have more data, then you can be a bit more specific on this question, is it?
Yep. That's what we're aiming for.
Now, commercial solar, I understand that there were a period where they said, the biggest system is the best, and the biggest system to get on your roof is not if you do tilt frames, but if you put them flat on there, but then the water is pooling, then there is dust accumulating and all of that. Have you seen some really shocking installation examples?
Yeah, unfortunately. And some really simple things that Diagno is picking up that could have been avoided at design stage. We've seen commercial installs on a sawtooth roof where the panels were laid and the stringing was laid in a way where when the shading from the sawtooth affects the lowest panel, it affects the whole system. And we've been able to say, look, there's really nothing you would do at this stage because you'd have to take the whole system off to fix it. And the system, I think, was like 7 years into its life. But you've lost huge amount of generation potential just because they strung it wrong, So there's things that we're finding that are big serious issues, but we're also finding things like this that's just like a simple design change makes the system perform 20% better over its life. It's significant.
Do you find that, solar does get sold sometimes very, very cheaply?
Yep.
You can still stuff it up with good gear and a bad installer.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you sometimes look at things and go, what were they thinking?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, the short answer is yes. We've worked with a lot of installers and inspectors over the years. And the people that we work with, I think they're all generally trying to do the best they can. And sometimes they're just short on time. We expect them to be electricians and plumbers and business owners and lawyers. Like they have to really wear a lot of hats to run an installation business. It's hard work. But they're humans and they make errors. Maybe they don't have the right part in the truck and they got to substitute with something else just to finish the job. But these are the things that we're trying to avoid because they do lead to long-term issues.
I actually think you're a very kind of person, because I'm going to predict to you that when people buy very cheap commercial solar systems, the people who are installing don't give a cadoodle, and I was going to use a rude word, about the output, because it was all in the sales process, and then whack it on as fast as you can. I can still see on Facebook right now operators who offer 100 kilowatt at this and this price point on the site unseen. They don't know what the site is like. They don't see the cable run. They don't see anything. They're just selling on price. And I believe you should sell commercial solar on price. You already got a disaster and no care in the terms and conditions in your attitude, because till you see the site specifics, till you know what is a smooth cable run that makes the thing look attractive also visually, if some areas need maybe optimizers or so on and so forth, how the hell can you give a general price on Facebook for 100 kilowatt installed that price? That operator is not the kind person that you just described.
That's true. And those people are out there, and it's unfortunate for the industry, but I don't know how you avoid that. People are out there selling the cheapest solution that they can provide, and they're selling them. And we're seeing
if you're an owner of a building and you want solar, get a local operator that is physically around to back you up in the future. Get somebody who's been in the industry for at least 5, 6, 7, preferably 10 plus years, because then they haven't been able to get away with crap, because it would have bitten in the bum and the company would have gone bust by then. So, long-term operation, real bricks and mortar business, physically can meet the people. They're not in Office 52, Suite 35, 452 Parramatta Road on a tower, because that's a sales company. You want the real installers, because those ones, when your diagnostic system found a mistake, they can come out and actually then look for whatever the issue is. Otherwise, those procurement companies, you would have had cases where the solar company who installed it is gone. With 1,000 of them disappearing out of the industry, it would happen possibly quite regularly. What do you do with a commercial solar system that now has a water ingress issue with the panels and cabling issues, whatever, and you now have to find a new operator to try and patch this system together. What's the story there?
Yep. So that I sort of alluded to this get fixed thing that we're building out now. That's the problem that we're trying to solve there, right? So kind of like the Uber model, where you want to get a ride somewhere and you use Uber to get a driver to take you there. You've got a problem and the driver's fixing it for you. With Diagno, we've identified the problem for you, and now we give you a solution to get it fixed. And so we've got a decent number already, something like 52 contractors around the country. The number needs to be bigger so that we're more local, because you referenced being local is important, and we agree with that. It reduces travel time and thus cost, but also it's more accountability because the person's local to the site. So we're building a network of trusted contractors, and we're putting them through a vetting process, and we're going to be looking at that list all the time, as we've done over the last decade with GSES and CER inspectors. Curating that list of contractors, trusted contractors, is very important, and we'll be able to provide that to Diagno customers. So if they have their own contractor, great, go ahead, you use them. But if you want to go through Diagno to procure a contractor, you just click a button and we'll get you 3 quotes. Well, 3 quotes, a couple of quotes.
Because if you're in some if you're in Kalgoorlie, it'd be hard to find 3 installers. So in some regional areas, you'd probably be hard pressed to get 3 quotes, wouldn't you?
That's right. And there are some practical limitations with all this. And if there's no one in Kalgoorlie, then maybe you have to come out from Perth and you have to pay for it. I don't know. But we're interested in getting the best providers as part of our network. So if that means that you don't want to pay for someone to come out from Perth and you do have someone in Kalgoorlie, that's okay. You still have the diagnostic and you can still do what you like with it. We're just offering this extra option because it turns out that people are wanting this option more often than not. We thought this would be an option that would be interesting to only asset owners, like groups that own 1 or 2 assets. They have 1 or 2 buildings and they have solar on both. They would want this option, but it's turning out that asset managers want this option as well. Like they'll have their own contractors, but if there's a button to get additional quotes for contractors that they don't typically use, they want this too, which was surprising.
Yeah, because you kind of want to keep the bastards honest, really.
That's right.
It? Yeah. You got to get a price. I mean, some people, when it comes to councils, they do take outside contractors. They do take advantage of it.
Yep.
And so to get a price point. What's that kind of clarification or confirmation?
Yep.
Is not a bad service. And those quotes are for free or what?
Yeah, the quotes are for free. And then once the contractor, but we're building this piece, right? Once the contractor is matched with the asset owner, the relationship will be between them.
Right. Yeah. Do you sometimes go and do an inspection of commercial systems that are so poorly built or in such poor condition now that they may be 8-10 years old, that actually repair is not economically viable?
Yep. And I've been focused mostly on the performance piece of Diagno, but we have a lot of plans with Diagno because the just crazy amount of information that we're getting from it. And one of those things is forecasting end of life. And then what do you do at the end of life? So we have inspected systems that are in quite poor condition. And actually, we're doing a project right now with council to advise them with a New South Wales council to advise them on which systems should be coming off the roof. And so, that's a quality inspection. There's a quality inspection piece to that, but it's really a financial analysis. Is it now in your interest to replace that system? Are you going to get your return on investment now? And so that piece is actually not that hard to do. And with Diagno, we're able to do that financial piece for them. So Diagno's got a lot coming. So we've got risk indexes that we're building, end-of-life reporting, LCOE, rolling LCOE.
What is LCOE?
Levelized cost of energy, which is my favorite metric. No one really uses it except for a utility scale because it's how you kind of peg how you're doing against the wholesale market or against your offtake.
Is that kind of what you pay on per price of kilowatt hour when you take the solar into account and all your own time and you pump it all in and then you get your price point of kilowatt hour at the back of it
Yeah.
compared to what you would be paying out of the market. Is that it?
Yeah, it's total lifetime costs.
Yes.
So your CapEx and OpEx
Yes.
over your total system generation. So dollars per megawatt hour or dollars per kilowatt hour.
Yeah.
And then you can say, all right, well, if I've done really well over the life of my system, I've got sort of 6 cents or 4 cents per kilowatt hour, but my price to buy from the grid is 32 cents or 27 cents or whatever it is. I've done very well. We're able to show you what that number is on a rolling basis. So,
Right. Well, that would be interesting for councils, because if they can report back and saying over the last 10 years, all the solar system we had saved us $42 million. That's a lovely report to go through from a procurement guy to the council. I know he gonna like putting that one together.
Yeah.
Not the one about we had Chris out there and he told us that 51% of our systems are actually up the creek and we've got to do something about it.
Yeah, but they're directly related. Like if you have your system off for several months, it just kills your LCOE. So even though we're giving you the LCOE as a reporting metric and it's a financial tool, and I love it as a metric because you can see whatever your buy price is and what your solar price is, that's your margin. Every day you can see your margin. It's really a tool that gets you to take action. As your system's off, you're just destroying your margins. You want to be performing. And that's not to say like if your system's off for a day, you need to send someone out immediately to fix it. Like it's okay to take time and understand what is wrong. But if it's off for weeks or months, like this is bad. This is not why you bought. That's not why you spent $1 million or however much to build a system for it to be off.
I mean, your ratepayers would actually expect you to, if you bought a solar system, to make sure it keeps on powering the pool or the library or whatever
it's not just a rooftop decoration. You want it to work. That's right.
But given your experience in the past, what's the levelized cost per kilowatt hour on a well-maintained, well-running, well-installed solar system?
Oh, you're testing me.
I'm really more after kind of, look, even give me your gut feeling. I mean, you did just mention some numbers before.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but you're the best talent I had who could potentially answer me that question.
Yeah. I'm going to say, well, first of all, it depends on your lifetime estimate. So if you're taking your business case over 15 years or 20 years or 30 years, your LCOE, the longer you push that number out, the lower your LCOE is going to be. And you have to justify that number being longer because you'll have more maintenance costs the longer you push it out. Anyways, let's call it 15 years. I'm going to just have a guess, something like 8 cents a kilowatt hour is what you'd expect a commercial solar system to do, something like that.
Right. Somebody explained to me that a solar system is a bit like a bathtub, where you've got the issues maybe with the solar and, bathtub goes like this.
Yeah.
You got them right at the beginning, maybe during commissioning, a bit after. If there are issues, maybe some inverter wasn't the best out of the factory. You get those issues relatively early. Then you get a very stable period for quite many years. And then towards the end of the life, they're peaking up again.
Yep.
And maybe that was very optimistic because, in your analysis, even that very straight area probably still needs double checking and things can happen. A branch can fall off a gum tree, smash a solar panel, get the water ingress in the panel, string goes down later, all these issues that you might not even know happen on your roof. But would you agree with that kind of bathtub analogy?
So the rigorous answer is I'll tell you in 13 years. Diagno is only 2 years old, and we haven't collected all that information yet over a lifetime. But my instinct is that that's not actually the case. I mean, there are things that we basically estimate inverter replacement at somewhere between 7 and 10 years. I know there's a particular inverter brand on the market right now that's having a quite high failure rate. There's another inverter brand that's having comms issues. Names. No,
Yeah, leave it.
I don't want to throw anyone under the bus. I reckon people will know who I'm talking about. But these things they're happening all the time throughout the life of the system. And you may well get that sort of bathtub curve for some systems, but I think it's more all over the place.
It's more like a ripple effect, is it?
Yeah, that's it.
Right. Okay, so what would you say is the common lifespan then for panels? I mean, can I get 20, 25 years out of them?
Again, all these things are site specific, which is why in my opinion, you need something that can sit over top of your system and pull the information out and say, this is what you need to do for your system. But
But when the sales guys come in,
Yeah.
they don't go, oh, you're only 100 meters away from the beach and the salt mist is really going to cause an issue with the corrosion on
they
the
don't say
frame.
that.
They don't say that. They just go, it's sweet as pie and just have another piece.
Yeah. So, to answer your question though, right? You've got a German background?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I was at Solgen, we used to install shot panels, which were phenomenal. And the example we used to give to our customers was that,
in my younger years, I went out with a lady called Ines Schott.
Oh.
And they were multi-millionaires, but somehow missed out. It was a very short liaison.
Oh.
She left me for a cook in Paris.
Oh, I don't know why she would do that.
Well, he was very good at the baking.
Yes. Well, maybe you get some champagne flutes out the deal.
If Ines Schott watches this podcast, I still like you, but I've done better.
Yeah.
Anyway, shot panels. Yes, sorry.
Yeah. So they had a system installed at the Fraunhofer Institute that was a test bed. And that system, I can't remember when it was installed, but when we were telling the story, this was 10 years ago or more, that system was already 20 years old and they were still getting like 96% out of it. So the panels can last that long or longer, really. But if you're taking site-specific scenarios, there are panels that will last far, far shorter than that. And how do you know? It's so hard to know.
But one quick question. Let's say I had a system with 175-watt panels on my swimming pool, and it helps me to heat the water in that commercial setup in a council. And for that same area with 480-watt IECOs or something like that now, I can get a system literally that is 3 times the size of what my original system generated. There must be at one stage a financial case where you go, you're better off replacing that relatively small system with a much bigger one now because the ROI is going to be so much better and eventually got to replace it anyway. Does your data help me work that one out?
It does. The industry calls that repowering. If you've got a system in place, then you can, at a certain point in the lifetime of that system, replace it based on a business case that makes sense. And I think we're getting to the point in the industry where we're going to see a lot of that. Once we install solar for 30 years, well, we got to install it all again. It's like a lot of people are sort of saying like, well, the industry is saturated and all these things, but we really only just begun. To hit our 2030 targets, I think we had to sort of 3x where we are now. And to hit our 2050 net zero targets, it's something like 60x. Like it's to get to
So we think we've climbed the mountain, but we didn't realize there was a Himalayan glacier and then there was a bigger mountain there in front of us, is it?
Yeah, I think so. And I think the energy storage that's being installed now, the federal program that's been announced, and there's a lot of utility scale batteries going in. That's going to even unleash solar and wind even more. There's been areas of the network that are congested and the wholesale market drives negative on a regular basis. If you're able to smooth that out with batteries, and now we got V2G with electric vehicles as those come in over the next sort of 10 years, we've got a lot of work to do. And it's all good stuff. And this is what we have to do to make the smart grid that we've always dreamed about. But with this change, there's going to be a lot of problems. And we have to have a really smart way of fixing them. And I think that's what Diagno can be.
That smart grid could also be a bit of a nightmare one day, because if we pull coal out and the other stuff isn't ready yet, then we took a wheel out of the car and we haven't replaced it properly, or maybe put one of those little wheels on it, that one that just supposed to get you to the garage, but we rely on it now as a full wheel, and one day we're going to have a problem with it. So how do you think batteries are changing that whole solar game?
With regards to the NEM, or like?
Well, I'm talking more in terms of the maintenance issue. I mean, if people are a bit ignorant about solar panels and solar systems, that you're finding that maintenance is needed and they don't always do it, it could be worse with batteries.
Yep. So Diagno monitors batteries too. This is a piece of Diagno that we're building, but we currently monitor SunGrow batteries. So you've got some SunGrow batteries. So if you want to get them monitored, we can do that for you.
Right.
And the SunGrow API actually gives us a ton of information. But there are things. It's to some extent, batteries are a little bit easier than solar because solar's got a myriad of issues that can happen. But batteries they should be providing information like state of charge, state of health, temperature. I think in some instances they report cell pressure, and these sorts of things. And then they obviously tell you when they're charging and discharging and by how much. And so you can do two things with that. You can create your own state of health metric based on all the information so that you can say, well, it doesn't really matter what brand of battery you've got. This is what we think your state of health it actually is. And if you're monitoring temperature in particular or rate of change of temperature, that's an indication if your battery cells are healthy. If you've got temperature issues, then you might have issues with the actual cell. So one thing is the health of the battery, the safety of the battery. But the other piece that you can look at is if it's being used appropriately. If you're just doing behind the meter services, it's a little bit easier. If you're doing self-consumption, if you're just charging on solar and discharging when you're not. But if you want to use that battery optimally, and if you're playing VPP services, how do you know if it's being done correctly? So we're working on a hindsight model that kind of validates if your battery has been used optimally.
Just to explain that, basically, if you drain the battery all the way down, that's possibly a bit harder work for the battery than if you keep it with a little bit left. But what is my ideal little bit left to get the best money out of the VPP versus the degradation that I'm whacking with my extra battery thing? Is there a mathematical equation where you can say, look, for that particular battery model, we worked out 25% is not a bad number to keep in the battery long term because you're going to get 4 years more out of it?
Yeah, well, our job will be to have a hindsight model that says if you were to do the right thing at every stage, this is what the amount of money that you could have made. To do it live is actually quite hard. You have to, in my mind, it has to be a machine learning model, and the VPPs generally have all machine learning models that will predict or try to predict what's coming up. So if you're playing the wholesale market or the FCAS market, you'd say, I need to retain this amount of state of charge in my battery in order to make money in the future. But how do you know it's going to actually happen? It's really hard. I've seen some numbers reported that the VPPs on the market are doing something like between 10 and 20% of optimal. And that might actually be really good because trying to predict those market events is
pretty hard.
It's very hard. But you want to know where you stand, in my opinion, against the market. If 20% is really good, but you're doing 4% of optimal, well, then you're doing pretty bad. So we want to give our customers the ability to understand where they sit.
Okay. Now, I want to wrap this up very shortly, but kind of like a last free kick here at me. I'm still that council officer who hasn't been 100% convinced, but do you know those movies where the movie producer walks in and says to the scriptwriter, convince me why this is a good movie, and they get their 30 seconds, 1 minute to summarize it all up? I think one guy got 5 million because he just walked in and said Jack Nicholson and a dog. And somebody could just imagine a movie with Jack Nicholson, a dog, was going to be a wonderful movie, and they straight away were willing to give him big bucks. So give me the summary why you have built something really special with Diagno and how Race 2030 has recognized that, and what it's going to give me as an asset owner of 50 solar systems.
Well, you're Jack, Nick, and a dog. One, I'd say write me a check for $100 and I'll write you a check for $10,000. Is almost certainly the case with a portfolio of solar assets, something like that. But I guess the broader implications with Race 2030. So Diagno's been through a couple different grants to get to where we are. We work with the University of New South Wales and UTS, and our relationship with those two universities is amazing. There's some super smart people helping us to build the intelligence in Diagno. And the Race 2030 project, as I said, our goal is to find ways of reducing the LCOE of solar and making solar more efficient for the market. But we're doing 6 different initiatives to improve how Diagno works and provide a better, more sophisticated outcome to our customers. And then once the race project's over, we're just going to keep going from there. And we've already got the plans for the next part of the project, which hopefully we can get over the line. Well, we'll just need a bit of money probably.
So really, but I mean, you haven't done a sales job on me, because what you told me all before, in my opinion, is if you're an asset owner, as a local government or even, Bunnings or whatever, having your own staff guessing by looking at the monitoring that it's working fine is only a limited success rate, because you have proven when you've gone in with your Diagno afterwards and installed the software that up to 50% of the system weren't performing as they should, and the staff hadn't actually noticed it.
Yes.
So if you put your software on there in a trial for 3 months, you will literally give them a guarantee that you're going to find issues, and you will therefore give them a guarantee for the business case to then pay for the program, because the program pays for itself.
That's how we've been doing it. So we do the free trial, and our success rate after the free trial is almost 100%.
Right. So I should work for you guys, because I think I just sold it better than you did.
Well, I'm an engineer, and that's why I'm here, Marcus. I'm here to take some lessons on how to sell.
No. Look, I'm being full of it here at the moment. But listen, Chris, I really enjoyed that. I hope that the communication about the Diagno helps us. We've already built the solar assets. They might as well just hum away and make the electricity instead of sitting there, because one kinked cable, one shoot-ratty cable can lose you $10,000s every month.
Yeah, that's it. And you want to avoid that, so we want to help.
Okay. Well, thanks for coming.
Cheers, Marcus.
Cheers.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Please support the channel by liking the video, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, and check out all our other videos. Want more energy answered? Visit yourenergyanswers.com for quality energy products, tools and calculators, and find your quality local installers. You're still here? I'll see you next time. Bye.